And once more into Bellsprout Tower. Apparently I had a last-moment second thought about my team composition before charging back in there. Wait, why Vincent after the trouble I went through in the previous clip to get him up to level 10? Sure, Lurker is gonna be better than Vincent against a wider variety of enemies at this stage, but it's not like we're expecting much variety from the monks in Bellsprout Tower. They've only been showing Bellsprouts, yeesh. Maybe I just didn't want to deal with any of the random encounters we'd get along the way up. At the very least, I'd have to switch Vincent out every time we see a Rattata or something along those lines. Speak of the rat, and that's what we run into before we reach our first trainer in the tower, or at the very least, the first trainer we haven't already beaten in our previous trips through this tower, which we probably should have finished with already. Come to think of it, I should have removed Uzumaki since he's going to be absolutely garbage against grass types. Everyone else on our team at the very least is going to resist grass attacks, even if they don't have anything that's super effective against grass just yet. Probably a good idea to grab this before we move on. Wonder how long it's gonna take for me to sell that X accuracy anyway. And here we are, the first trainer of the clip. That's all well and good to say, but if a flying type started to use an attack that causes wind, the grass type is gonna get mangled. You should know that's how things work in Pokemon battles. You actually live in the Pokemon world and you exclusively train Bellsprouts. You should be very familiar with the weaknesses and strengths of your Pokemon, even if all three of them are low level. Am I just overthinking things again? Why would I choose to switch out now? Lurker's still got space to gain experience for this level, and she's not all that threatened by the grass types that are going to be thrown at her. Certainly not grass types that are lower level than we are. Of course he's got another Bellsprout. I may be keeping track of how many trained Pokemon we've beaten, but I haven't been keeping track of the specific species that have been taken down. And good God, am I sick of seeing Bellsprouts in Bellsprout Tower. Right, that gives Lurker the current high score of 9, and the team as a whole has taken down 26 trained Pokemon. Let's see that number keep on rising then. There's no need for you to personally copy the movements of the Pokemon you sent out. You weren't personally fighting out there, you just released 3 Bellsprouts to fight for you. And we've got several more Bellsprout trainers to deal with. I'm certainly getting tired of fighting against them over and over and over again. I wish I could say I respect that, but plenty of people train with Pokemon in this world. What makes your training any different from the training other people go through? Okay, he's got a higher level Bellsprout than anyone else we've seen in this pagoda so far. So I suppose it's believable that he's seen as a better trainer than the other monks we've run into so far, even if there are more to come after him. And that should do it for Lurker in this clip. Time to switch to someone else. 10 wins at level of 11. That's certainly good for her. I'm pretty sure that part of the point with monks is that their work and training is never done. If you've made it to enlightenment, you're generally either a Buddha or have moved on to the next world already. Not that I know how Buddhism would fit into the Pokemon world. With how things are written later on in the series in terms of the deities in the Pokemon world, Bellsprout Tower and its monks kind of feel a bit awkward in hindsight. It's not quite as out of place as the reference to a Russian region in the first generation from a scientist, but still, it's very blatant with the first two generations that they didn't have any plans for any later generations. They just made the game they were working on and wondered if they were done with the series at that point. If so, they would do whatever they could to stuff as much game as they could in the limited cartridge they had at the time. Sure, they were technically speaking better role players out there at the time, but there is still this sense that Pokemon was trying back then, and that they were in the right place at the right time. By Generation 2, they knew they had lightning in a bottle, but they didn't know how long-lasting the series would be, or what precisely made it such a big hit compared to other franchises. I'm pretty sure that Shin Megami Tensei did the whole recruiting monsters onto your side thing before Pokemon was even thought up. Not that the first or second Shin Megami Tensei games were released outside of Japan. They had some, shall we say, interesting religious bits in the story that they weren't sure would be all that popular outside of Japan, making the Judo-Christian god be absolutely vicious and all too controlling. We didn't see any Shin Megami Tensei games released until the third game for the PlayStation 2. I'm not going to count the iffy localization for Persona 1 or the half-done job with Persona 2. And while Final Fantasy had some good hits with the original game, Final Fantasy 4, and certainly Final Fantasy 6, they didn't really become a major league hit until 7 for the PlayStation 1. It's just weird how it all works out, and that Pokemon of all franchises became such a global juggernaut. I wouldn't know how bright your head is considering the way we view the world. Seriously, there's nothing that makes one monk in any way different from another around here. They just have one sprite for them in the overworld, and only one sprite for them when we see them during a battle. Though I suppose giving everyone names was a decent way to make them have their own identity compared to other trainers in their class. Not much of one, but still. It's understandable since they want to have a good number of sprites in the game without having to make a distinctive sprite for hundreds upon hundreds of characters that don't actually have any importance whatsoever. And have I mentioned the fact that I always end up feeling like I should be considered an average trainer, not someone who should be able to become a multiple region champion, beating the Elite Four and the resident champion across the planet over and over again. Granted, the player character in each region is some fresh kid who's only just starting out. It's not like there's some canon person who conquers every region in the world or something. I'm sure if Pokemon tried to have the same kind of game-by-game continuity that Ultima used to have, that the story would collapse on itself in a hurry. Still, that's one of the reasons that after a while people started wishing there was more to the story than just get the 8 badges, beat the champion, and deal with whatever the local criminal organization is. There's only so many ways you can go through that basic song and dance before it starts to feel downright obnoxious. Anyway, we've apparently got a monk who has the sense to have more than just a Bellsprout on his team, since there are an obscene number of Pokemon out there. And I can certainly appreciate that he's pulling out that Pokemon, and it isn't just another Generation 1 representative. Huh. Why isn't that Hoot Hoot attacking us back? Sure, Growl and Foresight are better than nothing, but we're the only one doing any damage here. Ah, there's his offense, and good God, that did very little to us. Even if he tackled us over and over again from the start, it wouldn't have gone well for him. It's more than trust, I'm afraid. We've done a good deal of training before bothering to enter the tower in the first place, and did some more training in the middle of our climb up the pagoda. I wouldn't quite say blood, sweat, and tears. Still, we've put a solid amount of work into things to help make up for my iffier decisions. Sir, I somehow doubt the way Axel treats his Pokemon is going to be much worse than how Crystal does here. I know my battle style, and I'm an outright demon who has gone through some wars here, and it's not like there's a way to get our Pokemon to grow outside of just fighting over and over again. How is any of that supposed to encourage a trainer to not essentially make their Pokemon a living weapon? Hell, I don't think we start seeing contests before Generation 3, and it's not like winning contests levels you up the same way you get stronger via direct fighting. Huh. Does this tower just keep restocking escape ropes for anyone who manages to get this far in? I'm sure you'll be less of a test than Faulkner in the same town. I probably shouldn't have dealt with the gym before the tower, but it's not like there was anything stopping us from doing so. Level 7 Bellsprout. Is his second Pokemon gonna be a Bellsprout as well? Doesn't matter how much you raise that special attack, you're not gonna do much damage to a fire type with Vine Whip. So close to taking him down right there. And Gramash finally makes it to ace status with his 5th win. Kinda disappointed he didn't learn Ember or something there, but then it's not like I remember when Charmander learned his first fire move. Huh. Wasn't expecting the top monk to have a higher level Pokemon than the gym leader. And it's a bird that Faulkner didn't feature in his gym at all, despite it being to help differentiate Johto from Kanto. That's definitely strange, but still appreciated here compared to us seeing Bellsprout after Bellsprout after Bellsprout. Why would you need to do something like Foresight when I've just been doing a mindless barrage of bubbles instead of anything evasive whatsoever? I've almost got the sense that the poor monk thinks Foresight does the same thing as Detect. Am I just being too dismissive of the guy, based on his iffy moves, when it's not like our team has anything especially amazing going on either? And Uzumaki just made it to ace status as well, but this fight isn't over yet. Okay, 2 Bellsprout and a Hoot Hoot. That's at least less annoying than 3 Bellsprout like some of the other monks around here. So the bird was his strongest Pokemon, even though Bellsprout is the one they respect the most in this pagoda. Excuse me for finding that about as odd as the fact that the monk had a higher level bird than the bird's gym leader in the same damn town. Oh, there's not a chance in hell that Flender is going to secure the win with just Leech Life. Either he's going to get lucky, or I'm going to have to switch out Pokemon partway through the fight here. Well, I was starting to worry that Supersonic just wouldn't do anything to Bellsprout at all. It's not like I see any visible ears. And we take a critical hit for our trouble, for whatever that's worth. I'm certainly not feeling lucky right now, that's for sure. And his confusion disappears so fast I have to wonder why I even bothered. It's definitely not going to be able to beat Bellsprout with Leech Life, but I suppose Supersonic might be able to finish the job. I hate that strategy. Yeah, just gonna stall out and hope that Bellsprout knocks himself out here. Not a great way to handle things, but hey, it's not like we've got any other options outside of just switching in someone else to finish the job. Considering the amount of damage we already did with Flender, it would feel right for Flender to get the credit for taking the bastard down and finishing this fight. Not the most exciting way to finish a battle, but hey, we won, and that brings Flender up to 8 wins. Well, if you think that's excellent, I won't argue with you. I'll just question your standards when we're gone, considering that finish. I may not have any problem using Flash, but I wonder who I'd bother to give Flash to, since I'm not generally a status effect move kind of fighter. Well, we already have that, so it shouldn't be a problem. I certainly hope for the same for Chris, but I don't think that's going to be the case for myself here. Unfortunately, I have been far too distracted by the fact that Generation 1, in a lot of ways, just felt better than Generation 2 to me, even though there are a number of ways they visibly tried and succeeded in improving things compared to the first generation. Generation 2 is just such an awkward entry in the series, because Johto was set up kind of awkwardly, and I'm looking forward to eventually doing Soul Silver, even if I have no clue when I'm gonna start working on the commentary for that. Fewer fights on the way out than I was expecting there. Did the random encounters lower when we were on our way out or something? Why would anyone ever say no to free healing around here? I mean, sure, I appreciate that we have the option in case someone makes a mistake and talks to the nurse when you don't intend to, but still. So, seems that Lurker can learn Flash here. Venus as well, but I've already got the idea in my head that Venus is going to learn Cut later on, and I don't want her to become a frickin' HM slave. Not that I made the decision to teach either of them the HM right now. I'm pretty sure that Flash has to be the most useless of HM moves in the entire franchise, and it's been that way since the absolute first game. Hell, how many caves do we get into in a given game where things are dark enough that we'd want to use Flash anyway? Maybe one? Right, probably a better idea to save for now and head towards the next town next time. At the very least, this clip seems long enough.